Hello, I am Dr. Mark Leeds, Mark Leeds DO, osteopathic physician, and I am going to be reading from my blog today at drleeds.com/blog. And this particular post is entitled, it's titled Welcome Back. It says here, I am so happy to see you again. But if we look up here at the URL, drleeds.com/welcome-back, and let's go down a little bit. There's that beautiful picture that I picked for the picture. Welcome back. When you missed your appointment, I was worried. I checked in with you once or twice to see if you wanted to reschedule, but I also wanted to respect your privacy. I understand that there is more than one path to recovery. Many choose to follow the spiritual path of complete abstinence. This is a huge commitment, and if you have given up medication-assisted treatment, the last thing you need is a doctor's office calling you over and over. While I hope that you always continue to do well and move forward, my greatest fear was that you relapsed. The most important thing that I want for you is that you do not go back to drugs. I don't want you to suffer like that again. Yet, I know how difficult it can be to have an addiction. Relapse can happen to anyone. Okay, just to discuss this paragraph here, this isn't about any one particular patient. This is generally an experience I've had several times with various patients where they don't show up for their appointment. I call them and they don't answer the phone. I call again. And at some point, it's not really my place to keep calling. It is possible that maybe they went to an NA meeting, they got a sponsor, and they were encouraged to get off of all controlled medications, including Suboxone. Generally in the Narcotics Anonymous community, chronic, or I guess maintenance treatment with Suboxone is frowned upon. So sometimes they may get a sponsor who recommends that they taper off their medication. I personally, as a doctor, I don't recommend that you take medical advice from people who are not your doctor. So if someone does recommend to you, stop your medication, or here's a plan to taper off, call your doctor. I mean, let your doctor know that you have this plan, and check in with your doctor. Let that doctor know this is what I want to do. This is what I'm planning to do. The doctor can discuss with you the risk of what your plan is, alternatives that you may have, benefits to staying in treatment, benefits to leaving treatment. Anyway, but it happens. Sometimes people leave and they've made a commitment to a program, for example, NA or AA or some similar program, and they've determined that they're not going to take medication anymore. At that point, if that's true, it probably is not a good idea for the doctor's office to keep calling and calling, saying, "Where are you for your appointment? You haven't been taking your Suboxone." Better just to at some point to leave the person alone. And we don't have that relationship with a patient where we're not like a parent or a spouse. At some point, it's not really our place to keep chasing after a person. So we do our best. We can call and maybe send out a letter. But at some point, there's really not much we can do. And all we can do is hope for the best for that person. And if they did relapse, we hopefully they'll find their way back and get treatment. They can come back here, or they can go to an inpatient treatment program. Some people end up going for methadone treatment, when they're coming off of heroin, and nothing else has worked for them. Anyway, let's get to the next paragraph. So seeing you back in the office again was a huge relief. Well, of course it would be a huge relief to see that somebody you haven't heard from for a while is okay. I didn't want to make a big deal about it, but I was extremely happy and relieved to see you in the room, in front of me. You look physically healthy. I know that you are not happy about what happened. You relapsed, but you also made it back. I'm grateful to see you back, alive and safe. Welcome back. So to talk about that short paragraph, of course here it's implied that the person came back from a relapse, and of course I would always be happy to see that somebody survived and that they're back generally looking healthy and alive, and that so many people don't make it through an overdose or a relapse, and it's great to have someone come back and say they're ready to get back on track and continue with their treatment. So now this is important. Please don't beat yourself up over what happened. It is part of the condition. It happens to a lot of people. There is no treatment for this that has a 100% success rate. Then again, it depends on how you define success. In a way, I consider it a success that you survived to come back again. Now that you are back to continue treatment, it is time to get back to a normal life with your family and work. You can relax and stop obsessing over where the next drug will come from so you don't have to feel sick. I know that you don't want to do this forever. You just want to get back on track. It will take time. That part where it says, please don't beat yourself up, that's really important. A lot of people come in really feeling guilty and, they self-loathing. They're really unhappy about what they've done, and they continually beat themselves up over it and, think of what they could have done differently. They have regret. But there's nothing you can do. It's time to move forward. You can't change the past. Just be grateful that you're alive, that you're, in the state of health that you're in, and that worse didn't happen. You're free. You're walking around. If you're able to come back in the office and walk in on your own 2 feet, things aren't that bad. And what I meant about the success rate is, if a person used drugs through a period of time, say for 10 years, continually, the chances are very high that at some point they're going to either get very sick, maybe even get permanent chronic illness, or they're going to die from an overdose. But say that during those 10 years they go into medical treatment. Say, for example, they come in for medication-assisted treatment for opioid dependence, and maybe they go out and they relapse, they come back, they stay with it for a few months, they go back out, relapse, come back. While the relapses are not what we want, and some people might define them as failure, you can't really compare the periodic relapse to the person who's used continually through that period of time. While there's still exposure and risk, and the person who goes out and relapses could overdose and die, they've had less exposure to risk. They haven't used as many times as a person that never was in treatment during that period of time. So, yeah, it's, if somebody survives and comes back and they're ready to get back on track and get treated again, and they want to get their life back, in a way, they were introduced to treatment. They were introduced to the idea of recovery, that it's possible to get off the drugs. It wasn't a complete failure, but of course our hope is that we will be successful in keeping our patients off of drugs very long term, indefinitely. So of course that's our goal. Okay, next paragraph. The medical treatment gives you a safe place to prepare for the next step. So what this paragraph is going to be about is therapy. Well, let me just read it first. Therapy will help you to heal and figure out what you need to change in your life. One thing that needs to change is certain. I might need to edit that. One thing that needs to be changed for certain. You need to get as far as possible from the drugs. Changing jobs, changing friends, deleting phone numbers, whatever it takes to make it as hard as possible for the drugs to find you again. Avoiding alcohol and marijuana will help as well. These drugs can lead you back to the deadly drugs that brought you here in the first place. Okay, so I probably could have gone into more detail about the importance of therapy. It is important that when you start a medication such as Suboxone or Zubsolv or buprenorphine, Subutex, which are all variations on the same thing, if you take one of those medications, it's been said that these medications are so effective, they're almost like having a program in a pill. It's almost like you could take the medication and be fine and go about your life and not worry about anything. But it is important to get to the root of the problem. I recommend seeing a psychologist, a PhD, a doctor of psychology who has training, certification, experience in treating addiction. And that's an important thing to do. You need to figure out where you're at and what you need to do to improve your life, avoid the triggers, and build your self-esteem. Do all the things that need to be done. So at some point you may want to taper off and quit taking for example, the Suboxone. But I wouldn't recommend doing that if you're not ready to do that. And part of that getting ready is going to therapy. Okay, thank you for having the courage to pick up the phone. You should never be ashamed or embarrassed to come back. As they say in recovery, there is no shame in coming back. The only shame is in staying out there. Welcome back. So this is for my kind of imaginary patient I'm talking to, which is representative of multiple patients I've treated over the years. People call back and I think they feel, it was difficult to make the call, to pick up the phone and dial and say, can I come back for an appointment? They're embarrassed that they missed appointments, that they were doing so well, and now they're going to call and tell me, well, I didn't do well, I relapsed. A lot of times they don't even tell me until they come in, which is fine. We can talk about it in the room. There's no need to talk on the phone before you come back. But, if you're out there, if you've relapsed, don't be embarrassed to come back. Staying out there and using more drugs is what's going to cause you to feel more regret in the future, more ashamed of yourself. It's going to cause more degradation, dereliction, probably at some point loss of life or serious health consequences. So don't be embarrassed or ashamed of coming back. Feel comfortable in picking up the phone and calling and asking for help. Make an appointment to come back in here again, or if you've chosen to go a different route of inpatient treatment, pick up the phone and call someone, make the arrangements and get in. The worst thing you can do is stay out there and use more drugs. So anyway, that's our most recent blog post. Looks like I've got a little bit of editing to do. And if you found it useful or helpful, or if you have some comments or criticism, I encourage you to go to the website and you can leave a comment. So there's supposed to be someplace here to leave a comment. I don't know, maybe I turned off comments. I'll turn them back on if I did, because there are comments from people. Oh, definitely, it's great if you can share blog posts from here on, if you find it interesting or useful, share it with your Facebook friends, Twitter, Google+, LinkedIn, YouTube. I don't know how you share a blog post on YouTube, but anyway, I think that's so you can go to our channel and everything and like our channel and subscribe and whatever. But definitely, I appreciate it if you comment or share this article. If there's anyone out there who's interested in contributing to the blog, I'd be happy to talk to you. We could definitely use some outside contributors. That would be great. Since this is a video, I'm going to put this on YouTube, so I definitely appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel and like the video, and feel free to comment underneath on YouTube. So, and again, thank you for watching, and have a great day. Thank you.